How's it going, everybody? My name is Logan Plays It All, and I haven't made a video in over 4 months. I woke up this morning and I was like, I really need to do that. Believe it or not, I really enjoy making videos. So here we are, trying it again. So today, what we're talking about is Halo. Um, if you're new to the channel, one thing about me is I absolutely love Halo. I haven't made any videos on it yet because all the recordings I do is on a laptop and it can only do so much, right? So we're talking about different Halo game ideas I think would be extremely profitable or just fun to play. And so we'll get right into it. So the first game idea I had, was thinking of, was one of the games that was pitched by a Halo developer. And it's very similar to Helldivers 2. If you haven't played that, I'd highly recommend it. It's a really fun game, not that expensive. So basically ODST, I wouldn't call it anything other than that. It'd just be called ODST. And yeah, it might be a little confusing, but there's Halo 3 ODST and then just be ODST. And you could call it ODST 2 if you wanted to, but you are on a UNSC frigate, and you and a squad, however many that might be, going from 1 to 4, 1 to 8, 1 to 16, who knows. You get to drop down on different like planets to help, like, and just, if you look at the movie Forward Unto Dawn, which is it was like a hype movie for Halo 4. You see ODSTs come down and just get smoked by elites, right? And so that's what it would be. Just you'd be dropping in with buddies to fight Covenant, and you'd be like assassinating high-ranking targets. Like if you watched Halo Legends, there's one like mini episode about a group of ODSTs that drop down with a Spartan, and they have to assassinate a high-level prophet to disrupt a supply chain. That would be so much fun, in my opinion. So that's the ODST game. Not too much on that, but yeah, there'd be customization. You do colors, you could do emblems, but it would genuinely keep the same kind of vibe, kind of like Helldivers does. And I think that's one of the reasons why I like Helldivers so much, is because I feel like an ODST. Because you drop down, you're in there, and you know, ODSTs, or no, sorry, Helldivers they're just people in armor, right? Now they got some crazy equipment, crazy stims, but they're just people. And depending on what difficulty you play, you're a absolute deadly killer. The fact that you can destroy thousands of Terminids and thousands of automatons is crazy, right? But couldn't ODSTs do that? That's the ODST game. I think it'd be super fun. But and then like another game would be Covenant Special Forces. So this would be because there's this one elite that was given the like assigned ability to hunt down the Master Chief, if I remember correctly. And they were on the Pillar of Autumn, and they chase you for a while. And that's like a really random orbit, I remember. But just like playing the elites that drop down in the pods. I mean, it's very similar to ODSTs in that way. But you get to play as the Covenant. And in Halo 2, you got to do that, and it was fun, right? One thing that I think Halo needs to focus on is the people loved Halo 2 because, oh my goodness, I get to play as the Covenant, get to play the aliens, and this guy named the Arbiter. That's awesome. The reason why they were mad at Halo 5 is because it wasn't just oh, you get to play as another Spartan. It was, hey, I'm trying to replace you. Don't try to replace the Master Chief. That's just, you can't do that. It's like trying to go into the Zelda series and get rid of Link. And so, there's ways to do it. Like Reach, for example. It has the Master Chief in it for like 5 seconds. You can see him getting loaded onto the Pillar of Autumn. But there's you get to play as these Spartans, and they're just on their own. They're not trying to be anything extra. They're just Spartans. And you working with a Spartan 2, and I believe they're all Spartan 3s. But you play as the only other hyper lethal Spartan in canon, which is super fun. And so there's a way to go about it but there's just don't try to replace, right? For like example, like the Banished, which is Halo Wars 2 and Halo Infinite Enemies, um, you know, they are more like raiders and bandits if you look at it. I mean, there is a like collective military in there, but it's way less like strict as the Covenant and UNSC are, I think. But like you could just be like a game would be a banished raiders, right? And you get to play out of this variety of different like aliens and humans. Like you could play as a human in the banished or a brute or a elite or a grunt. I stutter as I stutter. um there's just you could play as a jackal, even you'd be the sniper of the group, and there's like and that would be like a fun multiplayer game. You're flying around space and you're hijacking UNSC frigates, you're stripping them for parts, you're going to old Covenant weapon depots and stealing those. And it's just that seems like a fun game right there. Is just call it Banished Raiders, and you're just playing as the Banished. And occasionally you have to fight the UNSC. You got to fight some Covenant loyalist. Occasionally, oh my hair. Occasionally fight like flood outbreaks. You know, I think that'd be super fun. And speaking of like playing as aliens, a Halo horror game. Okay, now hear me out. So Combat Evolved, if you're playing it for the first time and you're playing it on the classic, the original graphics, the part where the flood gets introduced is absolutely terrifying. If you don't remember, I'd highly recommend you just going back, play through it, or just watch a video of it. But you walk through and, oh hey, why are these grunts running towards me? Why am I seeing friendly tags on the map that are running to and fro, but I don't see friendlies when I get close to them? That's weird. You go down into this, you're trying to find this super weapon, and you see that there's jackals and humans that were fighting together, and you're like, sorry, what? And then there's, like a little area where grunts and elites had put a barricade up, and inside it's a massacre. It's terrifying. And then you get to see your Marines, you get to see a footage from them. I think it's Jenkins, I can't remember. But you get to see them just get absolutely mauled by an unknown assailant. And you're just like, so a horror game isn't out of character for the Halo franchise. And so like if I got two different ideas. There's the first flood outbreak. So if you don't know about the flood, basically what happened was there's a precursor. They turned themselves into dust, basically to preserve their life. But then over time, radiation bacteria from space got mixed in there. I don't know why it keeps going in and out of focus. Sorry about that. So it gets messed up. It basically mutates this dust, and that's what creates the first flood spores. Well, it actually didn't initially turn them into like breathing in and everything like that. Wasn't harmful. Okay. And so what they found is they could give it to, there's a certain type of pet that was kind of like a dog on this planet. I can't remember the name of it, but they could give it to that, and it would, this animal, and they would give it, sorry, I'm having trouble. They would give the spores to this animal, and the animals' lives would increase. They would become stronger and faster. It's just more healthy overall, more energy for longer. And they were like, hey, this is awesome. But then, after generations of mutations and mixing with other things, all of a sudden, it was like a dog got rabies and bit someone. And it slowly began to spiral until the entire planet was infected. And like people going on ships, they didn't know they had spores on the thing, on the like ships transmuting between two planets, and it fast and spreading. And so could you imagine, you're just like, you're playing as a civilian on this new world. Maybe you're a farmer, maybe you're working in the corporate world, and it's like you get to see it from a like a World War Z perspective. You're sitting there and all of a sudden you don't like they're not quite mutating yet. I mean, yeah, they're being deformed a little bit, but they're not quite turning into full flood forms. You just see humans like World War Z zombies. That would be a really, really fun game. And the objective is survive. I don't think you do, but they'd be fun. I think it'd be terrifying. I think you could do really well. Kind of hits on the like Dead by Daylight kind of feel. That's not right. Dead by Daylight's not the right game. Outlast. Outlast? I don't have a PlayStation. I need to get one. But yeah, I think it's Outlast. Kind of like that game. But so that would be pretty terrifying. And then the second game I had was a Jackal horror game. Okay? So I don't know if you know this, but jackals are absolutely vile creatures in the Halo universe. I'm gonna caution you if you're gonna look into them. There's some pretty like gnarly lore that's pretty gruesome and gory. So I'd be wary of that. Just a little disclaimer. But there was this ship, and I believe it's called the Horn of Plenty, and they were traveling between like Meridian and Harvest. I could be wrong. But anyways, they had an issue with their slip space drive, so it cut them short. And it was actually the first ever contact with the Covenant. Is they're going to, and then it just messes up, and they're like, oh, there's a giant ship here. And they get boarded by jackals, and they get slaughtered. So like, imagine you're with your family, which is a little kind of morbid, but you're with your family, big chillin', you've spent all this money so you can finally go to the harvest, the new frontier of humanity, and all of a sudden you're being boarded, and you didn't even know there was aliens. And now you gotta survive jackals looking for you. And you're not a 7-foot tall giant walking tank that just mows through them. You're just you. See, that would be terrifying for me. So those are two horror games that ideas I had. I think they'd be pretty good. Some other things I think they could touch on is the early life of the Master Chief. There is so much stuff that happens in his early life. Also, hey, if you haven't read any of the comics, highly recommend it. But on Spotify, if you have like Spotify Premium, all those books, I think almost all of them are free. So I'd highly recommend just give them a listen. Go out, read them. There's a whole bunch of story that you're missing, and I'd highly recommend it. So yeah, the early life of the Master Chief, like his training, his meeting Dr. Halsey, just that stuff. And then there's Operation Torpedo. This game would go crazy. So you play as one of two characters, Tom or Lucy, and if you don't know what Operation Torpedo is, basically the UNSC sent in 300 Spartan 3s and to clear out this objective. They got it done, but all of them died except Tom and Lucy. So you could play as one of those two, and you could like do different missions via which one you're playing as. 300 Spartans was a lot, but just watching like these new cheaper versions of the Master Chief just getting massacred as it's just a giant invasion by Spartans, I think would be really cool just to see like fighting as a giant army. And that's one thing I think that Halo Infinite really misses out on. So Halo is a military campaign game. If you go back and you play Combat Evolved, you play Halo 2, you play Halo 3, even kind of Halo 4, you're playing as in a military. You're not you're a one-man army, but it's not almost ever like that. In Halo 2, sometimes you got to fight the Flood by yourself. Combat Evolved, you're the last one to go to the Pillar of Autumn in the mall. But it's a military crusade. You're fighting as a soldier. And in Halo Infinite, you don't get that. You've missed the fight by 6 months. And I think that's one of the biggest downsides to it, is you're missing like the scene from Halo Reach where there's a whole bunch of warthogs and falcons and tanks rolling down, and they blow up those silos to the side, and they're just cruising. It's a giant army driving, and it's just so cool because it makes you feel like you're a part of it. In Halo Infinite, you're late to the party. So it's just that's one thing I think they're missing out on is Halo's supposed to be a military campaign. And when you make it just oh, I gotta go and do all this stuff by myself. Like, yes, the Master Chief's awesome. Yes, he's the luckiest Spartan in the world. I think I really liked the Master Chief, believe it or not. I'm a big fanboy. But they're taking away the story of Halo. And yeah, there's a little bit issue. Like, Halo 4, when that came out, I was like, hey, it's called Halo. Where's the Halo? Hey, Halo 5. Where's the Halo? But still, regardless, I enjoyed the story that was going on. And yeah, some odd stuff happened. Like, it was kind of a cliche to make the Cortana the bad guy after a while because of her rampancy. But I mean, in Halo 4, I was totally fine with how she died, right? So, you know, that was our Cortana. Our Cortana that was with us from the beginning, Combat Evolved. She died at the end of Halo 4. And, you know, and then Halo 5 and Halo Infinite, we're dealing with a very mentally unstable version of Cortana. And that's not our Cortana. And the only time we ever get to see her again as our actual Cortana is the very, very last bit. You see a sliver of her talking to us at the very end of Halo Infinite, I believe. So, anyways, yeah, that's another little just nitpick I'm going on. But, all right, I got four more, and then we'll call it good. Okay, space fights. It doesn't have to be like an RTS, but, you know how in like Halo Reach there was you get to go like use the experimental spaceship and go up into space, and you get to fight against the Covenant up in space. Awesome. Can I please have that, but in a bigger scale, so I can like shoot Mac blasts out of like a just a defense station, or like, because how cool would it feel? You're just like flying one of the I want to call it the Imperium class, but I can't remember. But like a ship that's similar to the Pillar of Autumn, and you just like cruising on the side and just wasting into a Covenant ship. It would be a hard game because the Covenant ships are so far more advanced than the UNSC majority of the time, and it just takes human ingenuity to kill the Covenant. But I think that would be really fun. It's just, you know, it could be RTS, it could be like a you play as this ship. It could be like a multiplayer where like multiple people play as multiple ships versus Covenant AI, stuff like that. But I think that being able to play as the massive ships that very largely range out, and like being able to direct like fleets of, I wish I knew the name of those, um the jets from Halo Reach. Spirits? No, Spirit of Fires from Halo Wars. Anyways, but yeah, just being able to like direct RTS wise, or you know, something along that nature, because just the like turning all your batteries to like one side just to like bombard something as you go by would be awesome. So I think that would be a fun game. But so that's that space fighting. I don't know what to call it. Halo space fights. So, and then a game that focuses on playing as Forerunners. So it's the Forerunners seeing humanity. Now, this is way back before the Covenant, okay, and before the current timeline. So, for those who don't know, quick history lesson. So there was the Forerunners, and then there was the advanced humans. Okay, so believe it or not, humanity was a super superior race in the galaxy. Like, old humanity versus the humanity we have right now would absolutely drop new humanity. Okay, so old humanity, they're big chillin', and the Forerunners are big chillin', and the Precursors, which are basically gods of the universe, go, hey, we're gonna give the mantle of responsibility to the humans. And the Forerunners go, nah, that's not cool. We want that. If you don't know, well, the mantle of responsibility is basically the charging you with the protection of the entire galaxy, right? So if there's like a weaker, like basically keeping balance and things. And the Forerunners, they were like, hey, we want that. So they try to kill the precursors. But how do you kill God? Well, if God allows you to. The precursors were like, well, this is unprecedented. These guys are trying to kill us. What if we let it happen? What would happen if we did that? Some precursors were like, no, what? Why would no? We just no, kill them. And so the precursors allowed it to be that the Forerunners were able to create weapons that could kill them. And so, out of spite, there's a reason why the flood happens, and there's like higher intelligence because there's a connection between one of the bitter precursors and the flood. We won't get into that. But anyways, so the Forerunners are big chilling on their planet, just moseying about. And then all of a sudden, they get word that humanity has absolutely decimated one of their planets. And they went, I'm sorry? And they look again, and then another planet just gets eradicated. And they're like, oh, we're under attack. So they immediately, hop into their little speeders, which is just giant warships, and proceed to start attacking humanity. And humanity is like, whoa, bro, hang on. I had a reason. There's this infection that's going around that's terrifying. We have to get rid of it. Forerunners are like, an infection? You just massacred 2 entire planets. What kind of disease justifies that? Nothing. We're gonna kill you. So humanity was fighting against the flood and the Forerunners. But when the Forerunners really began to look into where the flood was, the flood left. And you might ask, like, what do you mean the flood left? They weren't in the galaxy anymore. They were gone. They didn't know where it went. So it looks like the humanity just destroyed 2 planets for no reason. And I could have been more planets than that, but I'm using 2 for this example. And so the humanity is like, ruh-roh, Reggie, and they had already developed so many resources to fight in the flood that they didn't have the resources to hold up a fight against the Forerunners. And no matter what they did, the Forerunners weren't going to just let them off the hook. So the Forerunners just kept beating the humans down, and then all of a sudden, the flood returns. Kind of like Palpatine.
Somehow Palpatine returned.
I still bothered by that in Star Wars, but that's not what this video is about. So the flood comes back, and the Forerunners are like, oh, it's just a little infection. And then all of a sudden they lose like 15 planets, and they're like, oh no, bro, they were right, And so the Forerunners have to fight against the flood, and they really don't have anything to fight it. They've spent so many resources fighting humanity, they're kind of lacking on that. And so, like, there's a whole story about how they created the Halo rings to reset the universe to get rid of it, because it's the only way to do it. A whole bunch of different stuff, and it brings in the didact and all the, I'm not going to go into that. It'll make the video like 30 minutes long. But, so I think it'd be cool to be like the Forerunners sitting there getting the signal, boop, 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 humanity's just destroyed one of your planets. So then you play fighting against humanity, and then as you're playing like a ship captain or something, and you just destroyed a, like some kind of human resistance, right? And, it's a proud day, everybody's excited, and then there's a boop, 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 and it's like a friendly ship just slip spaced in. And so you look out your, main window deck, and there's just a ship hurling towards your ship. Take evasive action now! And so you try to get out of the way, and then that ship collides with yours. And it gets in there, and now there's some structural integrity issues, but Forerunner's pretty advanced, it kind of closes itself off. But that ship had flood on it. So while you're going over there to see what happened really fast, all of a sudden, the flood outbreak just pours into your place. And that's how that game starts, is that ship is gone. And then it's trying to prevent the flood, and that would be the game. Even though you're doomed to fail. But what if you were part of, like, we had a game called First Contact, okay? And this game would be on Harvest, and you're just a Marine, you're sitting there, maybe fighting some insurrectionists, and then you get the first experience of the, the brutes, the elites, the grunts, the buggers, the jackals. You know how terrifying that'd be? And like, I think it'd be a fun game, and it would be if you played the Battlefield 1, the very first mission you play through like 7 people, because like they'll die, continue, goes on to a next person's story, they'll die, going on to the next story. I think they could do something like that, to where every mission you're playing as a type, like a Marine in a different field, whether you're focused on like, you're a tanker, so you're in a Scorpion, or you're a just a pilot going to and from, but at the end, at every mission you pass away, the character you play as. I think it'd be a really fun campaign. Is you get to see all these different like characters, different jobs. You get to feel the real might of the UNSC military, even though it's not a lot because they just got surprise attacked by the Covenant. So I think that'd be really fun. The last one I have here is an RTS real-time strategy flood game with FPS mix. Okay, this is what I mean. So flood outbreaks happen because people are stupid and open doors they shouldn't. But what if you get to play and you start off as a single infection, the little guy, this thing, yeah, that thing, the infection sport, no, this thing, and so you have to like hide, get around places, and then you have to infect somebody, and you turn them into someone who makes more of these things, and then you just slowly like infect more and more until there's like a point of an RTS movement to it, or you can go first person. Like when you get to combat flood, you could go and you can like first person melee, and it's a little bit easier to do, and you don't have to rely on AI to do it, right? Or the game, I guess, to do it. So yeah, and it'd just be like taking over ships. It would start off on like a ship or something, and then landing on a planet and just taking over the planets. And it would be it could be happening like the same time that the Forerunner game is taking place. Like you get to see the actual outbreak from the flood perspective, and you get to play as them. So those are the games I had, just game ideas I had for Halo. And if you look right here, there's this little tweet from a developer. He's the guy. He was like, "Hey, I pitched like 20 to 30 games, and they were like they got shut down." And that's where he talks about the like ODST Helldivers game. And so he says in this one right here that it rarely has to do with corporate greed. It just has to do with timing. And I don't know if I buy that. Like, yeah, I mean, yeah, he was a former dev, but there's so much content in Halo. How do you do it wrong? Alrighty, I think that's where I'm going to end the video. Thank you so much for coming back to watch my video. I appreciate the time. And with that said, God loves you. Jesus died for you. And I'll see you guys in the next video.